Over the years, I've written and stumbled across thousands of drum beats. I don't even know how many. But in this section, I just want to take 3 of them and play them at full speed and then maybe slow them down a little bit just so that you can see what I wrote and what I'm playing. I'm not going to explain them stroke for stroke. I just hope that this inspires you guys to see the kind of stuff that I like writing and the kind of stuff that I like playing. So I'll start with the beat that I use in the chorus of My Life Would Suck Without You by Kelly Clarkson. It's a really simple beat. Bass drum is just going to go 4 on the floor. Snare drum is on the same place every single time, maybe with some small little fill-ins or offbeats, but pretty much the basis of the bass drum and the snare is really simple. The tricky part is the hats. It's a cool little pattern that goes right, left, left, right with some interesting little accents. But like I said, I'm not going to go too much into detail. I'll just play it at full speed and then I'll just slow it down. So this is what it sounds like. And then slowing that down. So as you can see, the pattern on the bass drum and the snare is ridiculously simple. Just some funky little shizzle happening in the hats, but that's also not too complicated. Really simple beat. I was playing along to the song and this kind of just popped out at me. I didn't think about it. I didn't plan the strokes. It just happened. The song just inspired that beat. So that's why I played that. The next one that I want to explain is the one from Fireflies that I play in the verse. It's this little thing that happens on the snare drum. It's pretty complicated with regards to double strokes on the bass drum and on the snare drum. I'm not going to get too much into the detail of every single stroke, but like I said, I'll just play it at full speed and then I'll just slow it down so you guys can see what I'm playing. So this is the beat at full speed. Cool, so that's the beat at full speed. Quite a lot of stuff happening, but I'll just slow it down so you can see exactly what I'm doing. This beat also kind of just popped out at me and was inspired by the song. I think the main reason is because the main melody line in the original song is like this 16th note little da 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 da. That's like the tempo of the main melody line, and I just without even realizing it initially, that's what I was mimicking throughout that whole pattern, just kind of going along with the main melody line and the main accents, even some of the vocal melody lines. But like I said, it was mainly inspired by the song. I didn't think this is exactly what I want to do. I didn't think I want to use the bass drum double stroke there and there and there. It's just like you accumulate these tools, things like the bass drum double stroke and that cool little different kind of sound that you get when you mute the snare. You accumulate these tools, and then when you listen to a song, they just kind of come into use creatively. You just kind of sample from them throughout the pattern. So that's a really natural way of kind of writing drumming for original material. So that's the song just kind of inspired me to write that beat. The next little groove or pattern that I want to talk about is using the rims of the toms or the snare drum, to use that as a sample and as a sound, to kind of incorporate that into the groove. I'm not going to play a specific groove that I've used in a specific song, because I've used this in many songs and many fills and many grooves. I just want to communicate the generic idea of using samples that you wouldn't normally use, things like the rims or the bells of the cymbals, or even like, I don't know, the wing nuts, if you want to get ridiculous, but just using stuff like that to create unique samples around the kit. So one of the things that I love using is the rim. So just using that in a beat will sound like this. So it's basically just the idea of using different samples. Like I said, just trying to extract different samples from the kit, and that's one of my favorite things to use. It just pops out at you. If you listen to the song, it's just one of those things that you kind of think, what the hell is he hitting around the kit? What is that sound? And I like doing that. I like trying to create a new creative spin and kind of do something that hopefully hasn't been done in that many songs. Another technique that I love using is using the hats to kind of color in the grooves and the beats. I think the best way to demonstrate this is just to keep a steady pattern going between the bass drum and the snare drum, and then kind of just demoing that feel on the hats. It should be noted though, I think one of the things that plays the biggest role in my kind of signature style and the grooves that I love playing and that I love writing is the hi-hat stuff. Not necessarily the hi-hat, maybe some of the cymbals as well, but it's the same patterns, just split up around the cymbals. But these are some of the patterns that I love using and incorporating on the hats especially, and I think it gives the grooves a pretty unique kind of vibe and a really funky little feel. So this is what it sounds like. So you'll see I really like adding small little bells and some extra little notes on the hats and on the ride and on the crashes. It just seems like with a really steady kick and snare pattern, you can still have a really funky little groove happening in between the hats and the ride. So that's definitely one of my favorite techniques to use to kind of spice up grooves a little bit. Lastly, I just want to say that if you want to create your own beats and your own signature beats, stuff like that, I think it's really important to realize that you need to create them yourself. That's what makes them unique. If you play a beat that I created, that's fine, that is sweet, and it's good inspiration maybe, and it's good to adapt that into your own style, but it's still in essence something that I wrote, or something that Thomas Lang wrote, or something that Tony Royce wrote, other drummers. But I think it's really important to realize that a signature beat is only a signature beat if it is yours. Like if you wrote it and if it's got your feel and your groove. Don't worry too much about adding that into a full or into a beat and trying to kind of make it a complicated signature beat. But if you are used to techniques that you like using around the kit, stuff that you feel comfortable with, those are the things that usually inspire signature grooves, like from what you wrote and from stuff what I wrote. So I like the Herta. That's why the Herta has inspired many of my beats. That's why it's very prominent in many of the stuff that I've written, because it's something that I like playing. Other people like playing the paradiddle or the 5-stroke roll, stuff like that. But I think it's really important to realize that you need to do what comes naturally and what you dig playing. I think that's the biggest thing. Stuff that sounds good to you, and make that part of your signature beats.